Hello, everyone. Happy Lunar New Year, and welcome to Tangle Time Arts. This is Nana Heron, and I'm a certified Tangle teacher. And today we are working on our very last mosaic tile, and that's number 8. So I'm really excited because it's already the end of the month. I can't believe it. So tile number 8, and this is a challenge because the tangles are a little different and I've never seen these before. So we'll work through this together. So for this project, tile number 8, you will need your packet one last time here. And if you don't already have one, you can still get one. And the information's in the description. And a big shout out to everyone at 7 Forest 5 Rivers Studio for putting this together. This year has been an extra challenge with lots of goodies and new concepts to learn. So it's been a whole month of learning, and these are the last ones. So today we will be learning Gotta Go by Leanne Woods, CZT, and that goes in our square. And then in our circle by Gabrielle Geyer, CZT, I'm not really sure how to pronounce this, but there's an 8 and a Geben, 8 Gben. Very sorry if I pronounced that wrong. And then for the 31st, we have in our triangle, it's like little triangles in the triangle because there are actually 3 different tangles in there, one by Debbie, one by Nina, and one by Ildica. All 3 together in one triangle. So it's going to be very, very tiny. And then for our seed shape, because we're out of days, there's only 31 days in January. So they do have some extras here at the end of the packet. And my suggestion would be either choosing something similar to these or choosing one that we've already done. And the same with like the triangle fragment. If you feel like maybe this is too much, you could actually choose one of these other triangle fragments. Or the same with the circle or the square. You could swap out any of these. So be thinking about what you want to do for the seed one, because we'll probably all have something different. All right, so we are going to need our basic materials, the black pen, number 2 pencil, and the tortillon. And then we are also going to need our pre-strung tile, and this is our final one. This is number 8. And I have a Bijou tile here and a nickel to draw our circle with. So let's start with that one last time. And I'm just going to go straight for the pen. And most of you know what we're going to do here. We're just going to divide that in half. And then divide that in half, roughly. You don't have to measure. And then we're going to form our square up here. And another square over here. And then divide that one in half. Rotate just a little bit. And put in a seed shape. And then rotate again. And this is where you need your nickel. Or if you don't have space, you could use a dime, or you can just freehand it. Does not have to be a perfect circle. All right, I'm going to put that away so I don't lose it. All righty. So let me look at my packet. Our first one is, oops, Gotta Go by Leanne Woods. And for that one, we're going to have little squares in our square. So like a grid. So just like we did on this Bijou tile, we are going to divide our square in half and then in half again. Once we have that, we are going to focus on the upper left and the lower right. And we're going to draw little rectangles. So we'll just draw a line down and a line over. So that's maybe like a third of the way down, maybe a little more. So that's in the upper left, and then in the lower right, the same thing. Draw a line over a little bit and then down. So we have two rectangles. And we're going to do the same down here in the lower right. So put that in the upper left corner of this little square, and then another one in the lower right. So these two are blank, and we have our little rectangles in the upper left and the lower right. Then we're going to rotate this 90 degrees to the left. So I'm rotating that, so counterclockwise. And we're going to work again in the upper left and the lower right. And we're going to do the same thing with the little rectangles. And also in the lower right. And at this point, you can ink them in any order that you would like. And then we were going to kind of connect the little rectangles. So from corner to corner within each square. And that's basically all there is to Gotta Go. It's all a matter of that rotation, that 90-degree rotation. All right. So now we're going to take our pre-strung tile. And if you are just joining us for the first time, if you check out the first video in the playlist for the Fragment of Your Imagination Challenge for 2025, the very first video will show you how to get your pre-strung tiles drawn. All right, so I'm just going to start like we did before. I'm actually going to start on the left and work my way over. We have 4 squares. So we are going to divide that one on the left in half. And then we're going to divide it in half again. And I apologize for any noise in the background. I do have my puppy with me here today, and he's extra active. All right, once we have our little grid in there, and the squares are pretty tiny, so we just have to be patient, we are going to draw a little rectangle in the upper left and in the lower right of the upper left square, and the same thing in the lower right square. And we're going to rotate and do the same thing. Upper left, lower right, upper left, lower right, and then we're going to ink these in. They're definitely tiny, so take your time. And I like to rotate back so that I can put my lines in, connecting the corners inside each little square. That's our first one. So we're just going to do the same thing on the rest of them. So we have our grid with our 4 little squares within the square. And upper left, lower right, upper left, lower right. Rotate 90 degrees. Upper left, lower right, upper left, lower right, and then ink in. I'm going to rotate back and put in my connecting lines, corner to corner, and those 2 are finished already. So now I'm going to rotate this way so I can put our tangle in these 2 squares. And again, draw a line in half and in half. So we have 4 little squares in a square. And then we're dealing with our upper left and our lower right squares. And we're going to draw in the upper left and lower right of each of those. Going to rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise. And again, upper left, lower right, upper left, lower right, and then ink in. Benji, come here. Come on. Come here. My puppy's name is Benji, and he is just a little handful today. All right, we ink these in, and I'm going to rotate back and then connect those corners with a line. And we only have 1 more left to go. So it forms this cool, it reminds me of if we were to color it in with colored pencil, like maybe a stained glass motif there. And so that could be kind of cool. So if you're thinking ahead to finishing these, and if you're choosing to use a lot of color, you might want to consider that. Rotate 90 degrees. Ink them in. And then your connecting lines corner to corner within each little square. So that's got to go for our square. Well, it's really different. It looks very different from any of the other squares that we've done. All right, day 30 is the one that I'm not sure how to pronounce, but it starts with an 8 and then it's Geben by Gabrielle Geyer. And with this one, let's get our practice Bijou tile there. I'm going to, for the moment, put the cap on my pen. And for this one, actually, I'm taking my pencil and I am drawing a line a little bit above the halfway point, and then I'm going to aura that with my pencil. Oops, I have to pause this just for one moment. My apologies. Okay, I'm back. So sorry. Benji just lost his little chewy. Okay, so for this one, once we have our pencil lines in, we are going to draw right down the center a curved line. Kind of like an S, but not quite so curvy. But you want to make sure you're beyond the pencil line on both sides. And then you're going to draw a little line down to the pencil line on each side. And then from the little pencil line, from the little pen line, along the pencil line, you're going to draw a line to the outer edge of the circle. And on the opposite side, you're also going to draw along the pencil line, but leave a little space there on both sides. So you leave a little bit of space with no ink. And then we'll start on the top of this one. We're going to aura around it. And then up to the pencil line. And then the same on the inside, which becomes the outside over here. It's an aura. And then we're going to, this is the tricky part. We're going to bring these in on each side. So they almost look like they would be going underneath. And then I'm going to go ahead and connect these lines here to that. Then we're going to add a couple of more auras on the outside. So this one's kind of tricky, but I can see where they get the name, because if you look at it, there's like an 8 in there, which is really cool, Now, if this one doesn't speak to you, you can like take a look at the end of your packet after day 31. They have a few little extra ones to choose from. So you could take your pick from one of those if you would prefer. Because this one is a little tricky. All right, we are going to try to put that into our pre-strung tile now. And again, I'm going to take my pencil. And I think I'm going to go, for me, I'm going to kind of go across this way. You could go this way if you want, but I'm going to go this way. It's a line, and then we aura that with our pencil. And then we're going to take our pen, and just like before, you have that curved line. And then the small lines go down to the pencil line. And then from the small lines, we follow along the pencil line out to the edge of the circle. But on the other side, we kind of leave a little space and then go out to the circle. Like that. And we're going to aura first on the top here. And then we're going to aura on the inside here, which becomes the outside on the bottom. I think that's what's kind of tricky about it. And then these two lines here, we're going to angle in, as well as these two lines. So they almost look like they're matching up, but going underneath our original curve, kind of hollow bow style. And then I'm going to make these connect. And then we'll do some more auras on the outside. And I think what I would like to do is actually ink in this part. And then for emphasis, I'm going to add another aura here of our original pencil line. Kind of ink this in. This is just me kind of embellishing a little bit to add a little bit of drama to it. I'm going to do the same on the bottom. And you can go ahead and go back on your Bijou tile and do that as well if you would like to. So that's about all I'm going to do for this one. Looks like I had another line in here, so I'm going to add that so that it pretty well matches up. All right, back to our Bijou here. And like I said, we could actually on this one, we could go ahead and go back in and ink that in. And then make these lines a little thicker. Just adds a little bit of drama to it. That will get some shading, but just would like it to have a little more drama. Like that. All right, now for our triangle shapes. So if you really take a look at this, the tri-3-0, it's a triangle with little triangles in it. And then there's the tangles inside the little triangles. So it's a lot. It's a lot. And I'm going to follow this as truly as I can. But if you feel like you would like to substitute something else, like I think that one actually would be really cool. I really am tempted to do that one, but I am going to do the tri-3-0. And it is a lot to put in there, but that's okay. We're going to be able to do it. And I'm going to start with this one here. And I'm just going to put a dot in the roughly the center of that triangle. And instead of drawing a line to the corners, I'm drawing a line to each side. So roughly, like this is roughly half of this line. And this one's roughly half as well. This one is not true to half, but we'll make do with that. And I feel like we could start with any of the three that are within this one. And I'm just gonna start with this shape up here and put in my first one. So it says from leafy tangent. So that's what I'm going to start with. And it's simply, I'm starting at the point and drawing a little line. And I'm going to curve out to the side. I'm kind of losing it in this actual triangle, coming back down and coming in like with Preta, just kind of spiraling in. So that's kind of pretty. And then I'm going to draw a line from this end kind of towards that point again. I'm going to ink this in. Just going to go ahead and ink that in. And because it's such a small space, this is where I'm going to do a little bit of a variation. I'm just going to aura along here, along this side, and then I'm just going to ink this in. Because I just don't have space for any more detail. All right, I am going to rotate this around now. And I have this other kind of triangle-y shape, although it actually has four sides, but that's okay. And in this one, it's from Bunzo, which Bunzo is one of the original Tangle. It's on their official list. So I'm just putting in a little teardrop, and I'm kind of doing an aura of that, but it gets larger each time. And here I'm going to round out the corners and fill those in. And we want to kind of add a little detail to some of them. So I'm going to add some ink coming to the center, but not all the way to the center. And the same on the other side. And I'm leaving some of that in the center just white. And I'll try to do that kind of with this tiny teardrop as well. So that's our Bunzo shape. And then our last part of that is this little shape in here, and we're going to borrow from Flux, but like gosh, I'm going to call it like half a flux on two sides. And I'm just going to put a couple dots in there. And then we aura on the inside and end up with this little diamond shape that we can ink in. All right, so let's do that again. So it's really cool, but it's a lot to put in the triangle and it's very tiny. All right, so we have a dot and then we're just drawing our lines to the side. Then I'm going to go ahead and work with the leafy tangent, just a line, curve out, and then kind of along our triangle, come back in, do a curve along here, and ink that in. And then I'm just going to aura here. And then in our other slightly larger shape, back to Bunzo, which is the teardrops that just get progressively larger. Ink, but leave a shiny spot. That, and then we have this shape that's left, and we are just going to do our like kind of like a half flux shape. I'm going to add some dots and then our little diamond shape in the center. And that's about all we can do. So you can rotate that one around and there's really no top or bottom to it because there's three different ones in there. All right, let's try that on our pre-strung tile. And you can pick whichever triangle you want to start with. And put a dot in there, and then we're doing our lines out to the sides. And then we have our leafy tangent. Back to that and then get in. I'm just doing an aura here. And then I'm going to rotate around for our bunzo shapes. Okay, I could only fit 3 in there, so I'll only ink in the middle one. And then our third one with the little flux shapes. It's very tiny. All right, we did it. We did one. Now we're going to do another one. Little dot in the center. And here's where you have to decide. You can do like we did here, like it kind of mirrors each other, which is fine. Or you could do the opposite. So let's try the opposite on this one and just see how that looks. I'll do it. So if you don't want to do it that way, if you want to do it mirrored like we did with the first one, you can do that. So I am going to do the little stem and come on out to the shape, come back around, curl in. And then the bunzo shape will end up over here. And that leaves our little tiny little flux shapes here. Or on the inside with a tiny little diamond shape. All right, that's about the best that I can do. So we have tray 3 which was day 31. And that leaves our seed shapes. So because there's no day 32, they don't actually suggest a particular one. So you can choose any of these, or you can pick one of the seed shape fragments that we did previously and use that same one. I'm actually going to borrow from this one. I like this one, but I'm going to do something a little different. So I'm borrowing from this idea. And let's see, maybe I want to come out from this way. So I am kind of going into the spiral like a backwards print top. But I'm going to build on that in the opposite direction. So you can fit like 3 or 4 of them in here. Like that. And then I'm kind of borrowing from Opus a little bit. I'm going to aura around that. But then I'm going to ink in these little areas. So you can choose whatever you want to do for your seed fragments. But I'm going to do something like this. All right, so on the pre-strung tile, I'm going to start with the center one. I'd be curious to know what you did choose to do, because I think we're all going to be a bit different in what we choose. Or you could even, here's an idea. You could do these 3 with one tangle and these 3 with another, or they could all be different. But that might be a little busy. But there's no right or wrong, so you can choose to do whatever you would like to do. And the one I'm doing goes pretty quickly, actually. So now I have to decide. I had all of these going over to the left. So I could try making those all go to the right. Let's try one. Put in my auras. And I only have one more. All right, I've got all those filled in like that. That looks pretty cool. And now we just have our shading to do. Let's see, I'll take my Bijou towel first. And I think with the square, I'm just gonna run the graphite along the edges for now. We might add a little more when we put it all together. And then for this, I think I will put some graphite along there. Parts that look like they're going behind that. And maybe also around the inside. And then for our triangle, I think I'll put some down here, like where our stems would go. Maybe a little bit along the edges here. I don't want to overdo it because these are tiny and I don't want to lose detail. And then with our seed fragment, I'm just going to kind of add some to the edges. That's really about it. Let's add the graphite to our actual number 8 tile. All right, and then to our circle, I'm just going all the way around. And a little bit in these areas here. And then with our triangle, okay, so the base of each leaf shape, bunzo along the edges of bunzo. And then also along the edges of the flux shapes. And then our seed fragments here. So not a lot of shading with this one. All right. Oops, I lost my pencil. Okay, then we can take our tortilla and do some blending. Just going to go pretty quickly because, again, there's not a lot of shading. That's really it for our Bijou. And then our official tile. All right. And even just that little bit of shading really adds some depth to it. We could actually add a little bit in here like that if we wanted to. Maybe like that. And you can just do that with the tip of your tortilla because it has enough graphite on there. And then our triangle shapes. Again, not a lot because we don't want to lose our detail in those tiny, tiny areas. That. Okay, and that's basically it for our number 8 tile. We can go ahead and fill out the back. I did pre-fill some of this a little bit. So you want your name and the date and a fragment of your imagination. And then we have the 29th was gotta go, Gottago, and that was our square. And then we had this one, the 8 Jeben. Where is that? 8 Jeben. That was our circle. And then Tritrio, which is such a darling name, for our triangle. And our seed shape is kind of a mystery. So yeah, so we don't really have a date for that. And that's our seed shape. And I'm just going to call it a mystery, depending on what you used. So if you'd like to let me know what you used, I'd be thrilled to learn what you chose. All right, so that's that. And now that we have all of them, we can actually And first we'll look at our little Bijou ones. And we can kind of just rotate them around, and we can see all of our progress with our sample ones even. So if you're only working with your Bijou tiles, you're probably basically done, but you can kind of, mix them around and see how they look like in different configurations. So play around with that. So those are cute. And then we have our our other ones here. And I am going to zoom out a little bit so that you can see them. So you can take a look and see how these look to you. And again, you can kind of play around with them and like swap out these and see how that looks in different orders. And you can even swap them out with your first set of 4 and see how those look. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip them over and put them in the order that we originally had. So this was 5, 6, and then we have 7 and 8. And then what I'm going to do is take some washi tape, or you could do the blue painter's tape if you have that instead. And let me get it started here. Sometimes it's hard to get it started. You can take your tape and you can tape them together, which is sometimes not that easy. I'm going to do 2 at a time. So I'll add more tape, but tape them together on the back. And then what I would suggest actually is making a photocopy or a couple of photocopies, or scan it. And you can play around with adding borders to it or tangles in the corners. I am also going to photocopy it and play around with borders and a background just to see how it compares with our first set of 4. And then when I get something that I like that looks good on both of them, I'll be back to finish these off with you. Probably the first mosaic we'll do this weekend, and then we'll see how it goes. And the second mosaic, this one might be a couple days later. And you'll also want to think ahead to what colors you'd like to use. I'll probably be using colored pencils and adding color. But you can think about markers or watercolors or watercolor pencils, even crayons, whatever you like to add color with. You might want to have those handy as well. All right, so how cool is this? This is super cool looking. I just love it. These are so cool, but we're not done. So make your photocopies, try some borders, and I'll be back on Saturday with the finishing project for tiles 1 through 4, which is our first mosaic. All right. I will see you in a couple days, and we also have to fit in our weekly tangle in there, and I'm a little behind, so it's going to be a 2-for-1, 2-in-1. All right, that's it for this project. It's been super fun. I can't believe we finished all 8. I'll see you in a couple days, and have a great rest of your week. And take care. I love you guys. Bye.